hello there. I didn't see you there. My name is Freebiewits, and I'm here to talk to you about Warren's Guide to Adventuring by Warren Teary, General of the Fourth Wall. Now, few things. Number one, Warren Teary is actually the character I play as in my Larp, or at least used to. He's now very long dead by old age in character. Walked through a portal into the past, decided, you know what, I like it here. Stayed there, became farmer. Like I said, he's basically dust at this point. As for the title of being General of the Fourth Wall was a thing before I joined the LARP. I didn't pick the name. If I did, I would have called it the Red Wall, or the Wall, I suppose. Very generic, but I became in charge of it, and, well, there we go. It was a fun ride while it lasted. You can probably learn more about him in my I'm going to show you how to LARP series, but that's not about that right now. We are talking about Warren's Guide to LARPing, an in-universe guide to adventuring that Warren himself made. Now, just a quick forward. The following list are things that I, Warren Teary, in my relatively short career as an adventurer have found to be true, reliable, and helpful in keeping me alive. Keep in mind, this specific text, this guide was written before he was a general, I believe. I know in the subtitles it says he was a general, but the actual title of the thing came afterwards. While I am not the most experienced soldier, fighter, or leader, I have personally found some measure of success in doing quests, dungeon delving, and other odd jobs that the common adventurer may partake in. With that in mind, I hope that you can draw some wisdom and success from the following guide. Many of the points listed below have been personally experienced by myself or other trusted colleagues. While the context and origins of each point will not be delved into, I will delve into them out of character, please be aware that there is a reason for everything listed below. Number 1. Do not ever pick up or use any piece of equipment that is sentient, 1A, especially if it can take over and control your body. This is more of a D&D thing, really. That said, it was pretty pathetic because apparently in a previous LARP game, one of the other characters picked up a gauntlet or something like that took over his body and became Demon Evil BBG. This all happened after I joined, so I don't know, if he had read this guide before he did that, we wouldn't be in this situation, but who knows? The magical item may not be revealed to be sentient until after you've already used it, at which point it might be a bit too late, so hindsight. The second piece of advice: sacrificing things to gods/almighty beings is all well and good, but you should probably draw the line at live sacrifices or anything with blood or soul in the name. Number 3. Unless it has been studied and analyzed by a trusted and sufficiently skilled mage, assume all freely given magical items to be cursed. Number 4. Never turn into a whale. It never ends well for anyone, even if it's effective. Especially if it's effective. This includes turning into anything at least thrice your weight, like a piano. This is more D&D that's leaked into my LARP guide, honestly. I played a character who could shapeshift into other things. I'm pretty sure this was in D&D 3.5, and I don't think there was a weight or size limit on the spell my character used, only hit dice limits, and I remember that whales at the time had less or equal hit dice that my character had at the time. He was fairly high level, and what he did was he jumped over one of the bad guys, turned into a whale and squished them, and then collapsed the entire tower on top of himself and the party, and it would have been a party wipe if the DM didn't retcon things and rewind time just a tiny bit. It was not my proudest moment, but as you can tell by his smile, I am still fond of the memory, as silly as it was. Number 5. Never go into battle while intoxicated, drugged, or otherwise magically inhibited. Exceptions for sudden battles. That said, try to avoid drinks and drugs anyways. This actually was added by Warren in character because he remembered getting drunk, waking up next day blacked out, and having killed a lot of people. Warren at the time was a very cowardly type of person. He would fight to defend people if he had to, but was not very offensive. But when he got drunk, it turns out he's a very angry drunk and fights with 2 swords and just goes nuts. And he's surprisingly effective, which is the scary thing, because I never really thought of myself as a good fighter up until that specific point. Like, people who would kick his ass normally were actually actively running away from him. It was kind of fun. Number 6. Honor is just a person's way of feeling good about murder. If someone who outclasses you challenges you to a duel, don't accept unless there is no other choice. The word prize in this case is just another word for bait. Yeah, no, this is something that Warren believes. Honor is just another person's way of feeling good about murder, because he's met plenty of honorable people who kill, and it's like, for honor! It's like, no, you're just a murderer at this point. I must avenge my honor! Why? You're not helping anyone by avenging your honor. You get the idea. He's very disillusioned with the idea of honor. Even though Warren looks like a honorable knight type person, he does not like the compliment people give him when they say, Warren is an honorable man. He knows they mean well, but it just rubs him the wrong way. And that was something that I don't think anyone's really picked up on. I managed to keep, I wouldn't say secret, but I managed to keep it on down low enough for him to be diplomatic about it. Number 7, never accept a bet, challenge, or contract without first knowing the terms, conditions, and rewards/compensations of said contract. Keep Rule 6A in mind regardless. So this one's pretty straightforward. Warren was actually a bit of a contract maker at one point. He did one for mercenary contracts, enchanting contracts. Those were the 2 main ones. I think he did one for potion crafting at one point as well. And his leader at the time, or at least one of his subordinates, it's the same person. There's a story behind it. Aka was a devil who, very experienced in contracts, complimented him, saying, "You would have made a fine devil." Warren kind of just shook his head and just decided to take it as a compliment for what it was. Number 8, if something or someone is a lie detector and you want to hide information, simply shut up or give irrelevant but technically truthful information. For example, if someone asks you where someone is, tell them that you don't want to say anything, or that they're on land. All technically true. I mean, I never got that about Wonder Woman's lasso of truth. Okay, so it compels you to tell the truth, so you can't just do the I don't say anything route. Just say, if they say, "Where do you come from?" "I come from my mother." There you go. It's a bit crude, but it's technically true. Number 9, if you're forced/magically compelled to reveal a secret, ensure that it's an insignificant one. For example, imagine there's a door that's locked unless you tell it the secret. Just tell it your favorite color. The follow-up to this is start hiding or lying about your favorite color so you can start telling magic doors your real favorite color. This doesn't have to be a color specifically. It can be just a random fact about yourself. Warren, despite being the kind of guy who doesn't want to kill people and just protect them, is surprisingly devious. He's got a cunning side to him. Part of it's because, once again, he's not much of a fighter, unless he's rip-roaring drunk, I suppose. He's not much of a fighter, so he tries to find alternate ways to win. He's won duels before just by using the knockback skill to knock people off platforms, making people accidentally attack each other, throwing sand. Sand in the context of Larp is just me grabbing thin air and saying, "I throw sand at your face," and then blinding them and getting away that way. That sort of thing. Number 10, always make at least 3 copies of a contract. One for yourself to study, one for the other person so that they cannot claim ignorance, and the last for a responsible, neutral party, usually a government official, to avoid accusations of tampering. Yeah, it's just common sense contract stuff. I am not a lawyer, just keep that in mind, so take this advice with a grain of salt if you are actually trying to make real life contracts. Number 11, always carry flour, sand, or other small grainy, powdery material on your person for the following uses. Number 1, use as a trail to keep track of where you've been. And number 2, if there is an invisible enemy, throw it in the air or onto the ground to help reveal them. Water in this specific case can also work, and of course, throwing sand into people's eyes. Don't actually throw real sand into people's eyes in LARP, though. That does not end well. So don't actually do it. Just roleplay it, okay? Number 12. Many traps are triggered by pressure plates or strings. Use either your weapon or some other object to trigger them. An unconscious enemy, while cruel, works just as well. And this is actually something I did at a LARP once. It surprises me how static people have become when it comes to problem solving at certain LARPs. We had a warden on the side watching how people walked across this bridge or something like that, this hallway filled with pressure traps, and if you walked on the wrong pressure trap, a spike would shoot up and kill you. And we had knocked someone out who was an enemy, and I was using their corpse to figure out which pressure traps were safe. It was actually pretty hilarious. They were the corpse, the person playing the corpse, was 100% on board with some, just laughing out loud as the warden was going, I guess this works. There's no reason why it shouldn't. We've got to figure out a way to balance this in the future. Number 13, if the villain is monologuing, take the following actions. Number 1, allow them to reveal their plans. Number 2, be aware that they might be stalling or distracting you. Number 3, if no relevant information is revealed within the first 5 seconds, sneak attack to avoid, them stalling and or distracting you. 14, and this is actually a LARP specific one. Do not physically touch gold from Trundle the Goblin Merchant. Refer to rule number 3. If you decide to take the gold, ensure it's placed securely in a thick container. If you require distraction, the container can be opened up and given to a greedy enemy, one that is unaware of the curse. And number 3, if a mage or of sufficient ability can remove the curse, do not hire them. The amount of gold gained does not outweigh the cost to remove the curse. So Trundle the Goblin Merchant gave out coins that would make you go berserk, attack the closest person, even if they're a friend, enemy, doesn't matter. They'll just go nuts and attack them. We figured out that it doesn't work if you scoop it into a thick box. And I decided to keep all that gold in that box, and at one point when there was a bunch of enemies who were specifically described to be greedy, I opened up the box and threw it on the ground, and I ran away. And they thought, oh, they're just trying to use the gold to distract us. That's fine. So they started picking it up, and I whispered to the warden, let them know, it's like, this gold is from Trundle the Goblin Merchant. Chaos ensues. I was never allowed to do that again. Number 15. If an ally is afflicted with the Rage Curse, try to back away. Do not try to save them until they are unconscious, or if you can safely apply the Cure spell. If there are no enemies for the afflicted ally to fight, do not hesitate to bring them down yourself. B. If you are subject to the curse, do not hold it against your allies when they attack you. After you're cured, of course. Berserk's effect was very common in this LARP. It just helped move things along. The wardens like to apply it every now and then, just for shits and or giggles. 16. Always carry rope or something that can be used as a rope to retrieve items or people who are just out of reach. So if they're stuck in a bog, for example. A scarf or a belt can be used in a pinch. I've actually saved someone who was stuck in a bog and dying. So it was like a poisonous bog or something. So they went to their knee and they took 30 seconds to bleed out. Within that time, I decided, okay, I'm going to try and save them. Used a scarf, lassoed them out. Had to role play it a bit because obviously this is probably not strong enough without hurting them. I mean, it could probably be strong enough to drag someone around, but it would end badly for the person and the scarf. Anyways, we roleplayed me dragging them out using the scarf. Ended beautifully as I healed them up. Number 17. If you intend to be stealthy, do not wear pitch black clothing. If it's dark enough that your black armor doesn't stand out against a grey wall, it's dark enough that a grey suit of armor wouldn't stand out either. Warren, as I mentioned, is a very devious, cunning character. He is also surprisingly sneaky, so you can probably see in the back, my armor has those little bits that look like dress bits in front, and they clang along. I found if I hitched them up like a skirt, I could run around pretty much silently almost if I positioned my arms just right to avoid the clanging. So many people have been caught out by me sneaking around in that. It's just very amusing and fun to sneak up on people in a full suit of armor. I say full suit, but it's whatever that is. I don't consider that a full suit, but it's still heavy and metal. Oh, advice number 18. On the subject of stealth, clanky armor can be rendered silent by holding up the loud parts of the armor. Yeah, I didn't want to say that. Guide number 19. Due to the existence of necromancers and undead, ensure that corpses are adequately disposed of in such a fashion that they can't be raised as zombies to kill you with. Failing that, ensure that there is an ample supply of undead fighting equipment such as holy water available near the cemetery or places of burial. There was no real specific instance where this was applicable in Larp. It's just an observation made by me out of character that we fought a lot of undead characters a lot, so I thought this would be a funny shout out to that fact. Number 20. Due to the magic of Adrocia, some individuals come back to life after being slain, respawning, like Warren can. When dealing with these individuals, keep in mind that disabling them for 30 to 60 seconds, depending on the winds of magic and the scenario, it's sometimes better than killing them. If you are disabling them by guarding them, occupying, or conversing with them, then they have also disabled yourself for the same amount of time. Do not fall into this trap. Okay, I didn't write this down, but there is one amendment to that. If you're weaker than the other person you're stalling, then good on you. I mean, if a level 1 character stops a level 20 character from doing anything, that's a good trade, even if you're not actually fighting. Number 21. Always carry a healing item with you. Bandages or health potions are good. Number 22. If you ever buy a flammable piece of property, ensure you have the appropriate insurance or enchantment to cover it. Warren once bought a bar and then bought insurance for it, then invited all his enemies to it. You can guess what happened after that. Insurance fraud hadn't been invented yet, but I can't remember what he used the money for, but it was like a role-playing thing rather than an actual mechanical thing, since money wasn't really a thing. It was kind of abstract at the time. But, yeah, no, they decided to burn his bar down, and Warren was just there going, yep, totally expected this to happen. Number 23, never steal from a dragon unless you know you can get rid of it. Just ask yourself, is the money really worth it when confronted with a 30-foot tall, minimum, fire-breathing, armored-killing machine with the intelligence, experience, and age to put even the most powerful wizards to shame? Number 24, if you hear the laughter/song of a child in a dark forest or haunted house, you need to either run or ready the appropriate magic items. Don't just stand around looking around stupid. Number 24, if you hear the Number 25, splitting up to search for something is only a valid strategy if the thing you're searching for cannot kill you in single combat. Seriously, stop splitting up to find the thing, because it will kill you in single combat. Go as a group, for God's sakes. And if it can kill the entire group, then moving as a spreading out is just as useless anyways. Unless, okay, I suppose there are scenarios where it's practical to split up, but for the most part, don't do it. Stay as a group, for love of God. When traveling long distances, ensure that at least some of your supplies are on your person, not a central container that someone can easily rob. The old saying of putting all your eggs in one basket comes to mind. I'm still a bit salty about this. One of the scenarios at Larp involved us traveling to a faraway land, and the transport where we had all our supplies was destroyed, and we were all starving. And I'm like, hang on. My character always readies all his own supplies. Have you not seen the amount of pouches he has and whatnot? And he was basically ruled down by the scenario makers because they did not want to deal with that. I'm like, gosh darn it. Okay, whatever. We don't have our own supplies. Okay, fine. Number 27, disguising yourself as a tree or a turtle is surprisingly effective. Doing it with weapons usually ruins the illusion, so keep that in mind. This piece of advice actually comes because of one of the other players. She loves to just roleplay and screw with people and just play around. And one of the things she used to do was get like a random branch, hold them in front of her face, and just slowly sneak around the battlefield and not do anything, freeze up whenever someone's looking at her. Hilarious. Absolutely love it. I've never done it myself, but it is very roleplay dependent on people, going along with you. It's fantastic. Number 28. If someone taunts you but has no weapon on them, assume one of the following. A. They have magic and can blow you up. B. They have a plan. C. They have a hidden weapon. Or D. All of the above. Now, in Larp, you cannot punch someone, so having a brawler or a fist-fighting monk or something like that, not gonna happen. That said, I have seen people fist-fight each other at Larp quite a bit. It's all very role-played. It's very heavily choreographed. So when you punch someone, it's like, rearing up for the shot so you know what's coming. Punched you. And the other person reacts appropriately. It's just good fun to have fist fights at Larp. I did it a bit. I usually went for the nut shot before running away. So Warren would never win, but he would rarely lose because, once again, he just wouldn't be there for the fight 9 times out of 10. Number 29. Look at people's feet whenever they claim to be anywhere recent. Example, if a person claims to have already scouted ahead in a muddy area but has clean boots, then they're likely lying. I'm salty about this one as well. There was another scenario where someone was claiming that they'd fought a giant swamp monster and they needed help to fight it. And I looked down at their feet and saw, hang on, their boots are completely clean. So I tried to ask them in character if their in-character boots were clean or not, and they wouldn't really give me a straight answer. It was a bit infuriating. I walked forwards into a trap and was magically mind-controlled trying to help them and try to figure out what was going on. So I'm a bit peeved about that one. Number 30, never fight anyone without a plan. If you must, try to convince them that you do have a plan. Number 31, if something is on fire and you want to put it out, make sure the liquid you're about to use isn't going to make things worse. If you yourself are on fire, try not to jump into any large bodies of water if you're wearing heavy metal armor. You will just drown to death. To that point, learn how to swim and make sure you learn how to swim in water. 32, if possible, do not crowd around a closed door or container. Allow the toughest, most well-armored person to open it. If you are the toughest, most well-armored person, then try to open the door/container with something other than your arm. Better your sword than the hand that wields it. 33. If you are not well practiced at it, cannot fly, or do not have a way of securing yourself, do not climb anything taller than twice your height. If it is windy, try to avoid climbing altogether. This is actually from a D&D story I heard from one of my friends who almost kept getting killed because he tried to climb a 10-foot tree. And then failing and dropping out of it, constantly taking fall damage over and over and over again. So I just thought that would be funny. Add in there. Number 34, do not be cheap with equipment. The best weapons and armor will last you a lifetime. The worst weapons and armor will also last you a lifetime. Number 35. A cult implies more than just one cultist. If you're fighting a cult, expect numerous enemies. Generally speaking, a cultist doesn't become a cultist because they're happy or successful. As such, most are not worth looting. Exceptions to that rule are the higher ranking members, those who benefit from the normal members and exploiting them, using them to further their own wealth, etc. Those are worth looting. Keep in mind there's a 50-50 chance that these more successful members might not even believe their own words of the cult, and are just, once again, exploiting said cult. Number 36. Bringing torches into dark places makes it easier for you to see in the dark, but also makes it easier for dark-dwelling monsters to also see you. If possible, use low light sources or adjust your eyes to the dark. That said, if you're looking for something that fights better than you in the dark, then go for the bright torch. It might screw with their night vision, like staring into the sun for too long. Number 37. Going straight for the healer, squishy mage, or other important targets in a fight is decent advice. However, do not ignore the guy with the big axe or pointy sword. You will find yourself surrounded and quickly dispatched. If your group has a similar important target, be sure to protect them, and in some cases, use them as bait to create an opening and trap the enemy. Seriously, the amount of times I've seen Larpers yell, "Go for the healer," and then proceeded to get themselves killed almost immediately boggles my brain. It's just like, okay guys, I can see the heal is important to take out, but you will take yourselves out if you keep running for them. Wait and go with the group and protect our healer, for the love of God. Do not enact any plan that requires more than one ally unless you know that said allies will act on said plan. Don't charge into battle and expect someone else to come with you unless you'll discuss the plan with them first. Must I say more? Look, I love my friends, but some of them do not stick to the plan sometimes, and I don't blame them. In the heat of battle, things can get run around, confused. Your priority shift from, okay, I've got to go take this bridge, to, oh god, there's 3 people trying to kill me. I've got to go to this house and corner now to protect myself. I get it. No plan survives contact with the enemy. 39. When discussing contracts for adventuring work, double check to see if work materials are covered. If not, try to set a budget for yourself so you don't spend more than you earn on any given job. Example, if you require an enchanted item that costs 10 gold to defeat a monster that will only get you 5 gold, then don't take the job. However, if the enchanted item is reusable and there is more than one of the same monster around, then consider the loss of gold to be an investment for future jobs and tax purposes. Certain monsters can yield a bounty unrelated to the job you are given. Be sure to check them, in which case losing out on the initial job might still give an overall profit. I mean, this is basic MMO logic at this point, right? Like RPG logic in general. 40. Most magical artifacts that must be destroyed will usually explode. Hit them with ranged weapons if possible, otherwise get someone who can come back to life to do it. Like these guys. Number 41. Being an alive coward is better than being brave and dead. 42. Note that if there's a magic ritual that requires a sacrifice, there's a 50-50 chance that it won't accept people who can just come back to life. The other 50% chance is that it'll tear out their soul, making resurrection impossible. So just don't volunteer yourself. Main exception being that if you want/need the ritual to fail, which considering that it requires a sacrifice, you probably want it to fail. It's a bit sketchy to try at that point. Number 43, don't use fire or thunder magic when you or an ally is in the water. Don't use fire or thunder magic in a flammable location in which you are in. Number 44, don't litter. Even if Ira are no longer in power, the nature spirits can be terribly vengeful. Ira, at the time, used to be one of the guilds that were in the Larp, but they kind of disbanded and such. They were all about nature, druids, having tea parties. I was good friends with quite a lot of them, despite being on a different guild. Number 45, don't carry anything into battle that might break, because it will break and you'll have no one to blame but yourself. Common Larp stuff, really. If you bring a nerf sword into a Hema match, don't be surprised if your sword just dies. 46. If you're reading this, then you already know that knowledge is power. Visit the library and try to do some research on the area you'll be doing your adventuring in, as well as some reading on the commonly found monsters and obstacles there. It should be noted that the Adrosian Library offers a small commission for entries made by adventurers, whether they be single pages of information or books. Some books and entries will come with a small fee to read, but said fee is so small that the rewards you gain from adventuring should outweigh them. If you're reading this guide to find ways to fight specific monsters, then stop. This guide is just a general guide to adventuring, not for fighting specific monsters. So this guide I'm reading right now was actually made into a book that I then donated to the Adrosian Library. I say donate, but I did get in-game gold for it. I also wrote a bunch of guides to fight certain monsters and whatnot. I'm pretty sure, my character was the one who coined the term relentless as the keyword for the people who just keep dying and coming back after dying. So I'm very happy with that. Number 47. A big heavy book makes for a surprisingly good melee weapon in a pinch and a decent short-range projectile. However, avoid using Adrosian Library books in this matter, as the last guy who did it was banned from said library, a fate I'd wish on no one. So Warren was, as you can imagine, very into books, very into learning about stuff. He never really considered himself smart, but he was very good at thinking outside the box and finding ways to solve problems that nobody else could think about. Number 48. Don't forget about your carry weight. If the thing you're looting gets you killed, then the thing you're looting might as well be useless. Now, if you can come back to life, then this is less of an issue. That said, try not to die over a pit or pool of lava. Loot might as well be worth nothing if you can't reach it. Pretty common sense stuff. Number 49. There's no reason to say, no time to explain, because there's always time to explain. If you have time to say, no time to explain, then you have time to shout out the key words of an emergency. For example, if there's something chasing you, simply shouting the name of the monster or just saying, unkillable monster chasing me, is enough to get anyone running. If the person you're warning turns to try to kill the unkillable monster, then that's on them at that point, right? If someone wearing robes with clock-like iconography approaches you, asking for a moment of your time, say no, they're being literal. This was a joke I saw on the internet at one point, and I stole it for one of my D&D campaigns, and I literally, in a future boss battle, had them take the players' turns. All but one of them was wise to my tricks, though the person who was wise to my trick was a literal chronomancer who actually knew the trick, so that's why he didn't fall for it, which I quite enjoyed thematically. Now, number 51, if you hear the call of nature while camping, be sure to have an ally watch over you. It might be embarrassing, but it's a lot better than having an enemy literally catch you with your pants down. This has never happened to me before, and I don't think it will ever actually happen in Larp, because when it comes to the toilets, we use porta potties, and that's an out-of-character section. Number 52. If an alchemist starts running away from something, you should probably follow their example. This is one of the few times where Rule 49 is not true. Explosives are fast. So, Rule 49 is the one where I say, no time to explain. So, if an alchemist is running away from something, that's probably enough explanation, right? Number 53. Try not to make enemies of the relentless, the people who keep coming back to life. Even if you kill them, they will literally just come back to life. In the event that you do make an enemy of them, try to convince them that killing you is not worth the trouble. Number 54. If you capture someone, treat them well. Because if they escape and turn the tables, you'll be glad you treated them well. If you let them go and later they capture you, once again, you'll be glad you treated them well. And of course, well, if you gain a reputation for killing all your prisoners, then everyone will die as if their life depended on it, because it literally does, against you. Number 55. Golden geese are a headache to look after and aren't worth the trouble. The poop just gets everywhere. So, This one has a fun bit of backstory to it. Out of character, my guild was supposed to hold a quest, and the in-character reason why my character and our guild didn't participate in it was because we did have the golden geese in character, and the poop was just everywhere, and my character absolutely hated the bird. So he's like, if I see any of my own men even touching that goose, I will have your hides. Leave it alone, guys. And that let the other guilds go for the golden goose, which is just a stuffed toy that everybody had to fight over, essentially. Number 56. If you must travel by boat, take the following points to heart. Number 1. Have a potion of water walking handy. Know where all the emergency lifeboats are located. And, learn how to swim. Number 57. Literally throwing a hobbit, or halfling, at a problem never works, and in many instances, it makes it worse. I'm going to change that to halfling. Look, I don't think Tolkien estates are going to come at me, but you never know. You never know. It's a halfling. Number 58. Telling a vampire to bite me is not a valid form of taunting. Unless you want to be hit. Abstain from taunting altogether, in fact. Number 59. Unless they know how to enchant a weapon, paying a blacksmith to put decorative runes and engravings onto your weapon only serves to weaken it. You're literally gouging bits of the metal out, adding weak points, or adding extra groove. If you're adding extra bits of metal on it, you're just making it heavier for no reason. It doesn't increase the cutting power. Number 60. Never skip leg day. As I mentioned, Warren is a bit of a coward sometimes, so running away in a full suit of armor is fun. Number 61. Don't draw on a mage's face when they're in the middle of doing an astral projection. If they're powerful enough to astrally project, then they're powerful enough to make you regret it. I mean, this applies to anyone who is sleeping. Just don't be a jerk. Number 62. Wearing a helmet is all well and good, but make sure you can actually see out of it first. Seriously, the amount of times I've tripped over my own feet while wearing that thing is, I'm not proud to say that it's above 0. So Warren doesn't wear his helmet as much as he probably should have. I would say to all of you who wear helmets, keep it up. Practice makes perfect. Moving along, just because you're a medic, it doesn't mean you can't wear heavy armor to keep yourself alive with. In fact, keeping yourself alive is a great way of helping keep other people alive too. This just reminds me of a fantastic conversation I've had with someone who was a bloodthirsty fighter type character, and he's like, why do you keep running away? And I tell them, because I don't like to die. I don't want to get into fights. Then why wear heavy armor? Because I don't like to die. Right? Makes sense to me. Number 64. You don't need to outrun a monster. You just need to outrun the slowest person. Make sure that person isn't you. Don't skip leg day. And number 65. The final tip in this guide. The above points are simply guides. Despite being called rules, they're not rules that must be followed no matter what. An adventurer must be prepared for anything at all. So that's Warren's Guide to Adventuring. It's from the perspective of a Larp character, but it can be applied to D&D and other type of adventure type games. I hope you've learned something from it. Hope you've enjoyed it. My name's Freebie Wits, and I'm just going to say bye-bye.